Hey, what's up everybody? ESAM here bringing you another video. This one going to be part 3 of my Samus matchup chart. This time going to be going over all of the even matchups. Hopefully I get through all of them, because there are a lot. The previous 2 videos I will link down below, or it'll be in the playlist or whatever, so you can go watch those. But here, let us talk about the even matchups. So first, I'm gonna put Mario. So Mario, essentially, I talked about Doc in my previous episode. So the reason that this is 5-5 is because Mario has, again, a decent amount of trouble getting into certain characters, and Samus is one of them. Zair, forward tilt, and dash attack and dash grab make him pretty much always have to guess in neutral situations. And if he guesses wrong, he either takes a little bit of percent and gets knocked back out, in which case he has to replay the situation again and has to guess once more. Or if he guesses wrong in either the dash grab or dash attack case, he might take about 30%. Obviously the grab only at low percents, but dash attack threat is really huge in this matchup. It allows, like, the thing is, Marios typically want to be in the air because their aerial mobility and their landing options are really good, but Samus neutralizes all of his landing aerials on shield with up B out of shield. You know, if he jumps and he starts going away or drifting away, Samus can dash attack, and the only way to combat that is if he just does like a really well-timed back air. But if he mistimes it or Samus waits to go in, then Samus will punish the back air and get big damage. You know, there are things that make this not advantageous though, which is the fact that Mario does have an easier time killing in this matchup, because a lot of Samus's pressure does come from her short hop Zair, you know, and the fact that she doesn't really have a lot of easy to land kill moves on Mario because of the threat of up smash. So typically you're going to want to do, like, if you're both at kill percents, you know, Samus is going to typically want either a charge shot, which can be reflected, a back air or neutral air, which if he reads the jump correctly, he can just up smash it and trade, or even just win it because it's invulnerable. So that's very problematic for Samus, as well as the fact that Samus can't really edgeguard Mario efficiently because his up B is invulnerable and extremely disjointed, along with the fact that his aerial mobility is really good, so he can just kind of drift and air dodge where he needs to, and then up B to grab the ledge, which is really difficult for Samus to do anything about other than just attempt to get a 2-frame with like a down tilt or a bomb. But again, very difficult because he can alter his timings on recovery very greatly. You know, it is nice if Samus gets the bomb, typically they're going to have to up B somewhat immediately anyway, and the 50 frames of not being able to grab the ledge after you get hit, you know, leads to a lot of up tilt kills, which is one of the ways I killed Ally in our set. The fear of charge shot is still a thing in this matchup. It can be reflected, so Samus has to be very smart with using it, which is why we'll pretty much only use it in situations that even if Mario does use cape, I will be fine, or like I'm at really low percent and it's like a half charge shot. So typically, you know, if you full hop and you're falling, you can shoot the beam, because if he capes it, you'll be under it, so it's not going to be as much of a problem. But because of that, the general threat isn't there. It's still kind of problematic because Mario will have to sometimes, I feel like, throw out cape unless you're going to react to it, which is fairly difficult to do in high stress situations, which is going to be a lot of this matchup, honestly. Both characters actually do a decent amount of damage to each other. You know, Samus obviously has her dash tech confirms for up air things, you know, keeping a disadvantage with up B or neutral air, or, you know, reading air dodge and things like that. Whereas Mario obviously gets his really good juggles, won't get too much at low percent because Samus is heavy, so there's not as much hit stun. But once up air start chaining into each other, it's going to be very problematic for Mario, or for Samus, to get out of disadvantage, because you can't just, like, you know, a lot of characters that I mentioned earlier in this thing, you can just kind of jump away and go to ledge, but that's not the case with Mario because he has things like Flood. He can actually go out there and challenge you with things like back air and forward air, so it's really scary to do that. So you're typically gonna want to just like hope to be on, like, be able to land on a platform, whereas Mario can get greedy and maybe can get an up B out of shield, but it's kind of difficult to get out of disadvantage in this matchup. So I feel like for neutral, Samus wins because she's pretty much, Mario has to guess right, whereas Samus has to essentially do the worst option of, you know, whatever the situation is. And like, he has to go through a lot of storms just to, like, one, not get hit by charge shot, not get hit by Zair, not get hit by dash attack, and then once he gets in, he won't get that much until like around 35 to 40%. So the early percent, Samus can get a lot of, you know, advantage, in which case then she can just only camp, focus on up B's out of shield, focus on defensive play, as opposed to, you know, going to extend her lead. So I feel like, you know, when Samus is losing, it's easier for her to make a comeback because she has amazing damage output and, you know, really early kill potential, and potentially can read an air dodge off stage and you can, you know, hit them or something. You know, then Mario, like, when Mario's losing, I feel like it's very difficult for him to come back because the turtle that Samus is really difficult for Mario to deal with sometimes, especially when he has to force his way in. In advantage, I feel like both characters body each other's advantage, or, you know, disadvantage states pretty well. So, you know, in disadvantage, I feel like Mario's is, you know, Samus and Mario pretty much have the same amount of difficulty difficulty and the same amount of, you know, prowess in keeping the opponent in disadvantage and advantage. But the thing is, the fact that Mario can kill a little bit more consistently is going to essentially make up for the neutral interactions that are harder for him, and in my opinion, that is why it is going to be 5-5. So next, I want to talk about Marthsina, and I'm going to talk about them as the same character in this context because for the most part, it doesn't matter. In my opinion, most of the damage that Marthsina are going to get in this matchup are from Dancing Blade as well as forward air, because essentially, like, the fact that both characters, you know, dash really low when they're running makes it kind of difficult to zone with Zair, because you have to Zair obviously really low, so they get a lot of distance when they are attempting to get in. Because of that, you know, the zoning for Samus isn't super effective, but the reason this matchup, in my opinion, isn't that bad is because Samus can actually contend with the airspace, because a lot of the times the sorties are going to want to be jumping, want to be forward airing, want to be just like short hop, landing forward air, short hop, retreating forward air. You know, the retreating forward airs won't really work for Marth very well because you can just kind of dash attack that space and it'll work if you time it correctly. Also, if they start retreating, you can just kind of like short hop Zair and catch them with a little bit of damage. Samus actually punishes Marthsina's disadvantage really, really well. Like, that's obviously the weakest part for those two characters, and Samus can get a lot of damage off of it, whereas Marth is going to, I feel like, be better in the neutral of this matchup. Samus obviously can charge beam, so force Marth and Lucina to approach, which can be problematic because, again, they don't have like a reflector, they have a counter, but Samus can get some damage off of just like, okay, I'm charging, shoot the shot, get like 15, 17, 12, 7, whatever, you know, it can add up. And the fact that Marth and Lucina can actually be edgeguarded, in my opinion, by Samus, because she can just kind of be out there really far and, you know, force them to air dodge, force them to double jump, and cover a lot of options. You know, and if the thing is, if Samus misses an edgeguard, it's typically not going to be that big of a deal, because in my opinion, it's actually really difficult for Marthsina to edgeguard Samus unless she has to up B and has no double jump really low, because then they can run off and counter her back off stage, which can be problematic. But typically, if they do that, you can just kind of bomb and then like tether the ledge, or have a mix up and just kind of like air dodge. They throw out, you know, a forward air, and then you just kind of up B them and get back on stage. So I feel like Samus edgeguarding is a bit more potent than vice versa in this matchup. The kill potential, in my opinion, is actually pretty even, because it's kind of difficult for them to land their kill moves unless, as Marth, you get like your Tipper Dancing Blade. You know, Lucina, you're not going to be getting most of your kill moves. You're not going to be landing those F smashes. You know, up air can be a threat, but at the same time, you know, Marth can do that as well. But again, I feel like it's easier for Samus to get out of disadvantage than vice versa in this matchup, whereas then her neutral can be like, Zair, okay, read your tech into a charge shot, or you can do things like, you know, hit someone on a platform and then back air them or neutral air them. It's really difficult for Marth and Lucina to get back into neutral, and that is going to be, in my opinion, why it's 5-5, because I feel like, you know, the neutral isn't that bad for Marthsina. The punish game is pretty good for both, although it is better for Samus's. But it's just the fact that, you know, they can just nickel and dime their way through a match, because that's how Marth and Lucina are going to do it. They're not like huge combo characters. They're just going to like hit you for 18, hit you for 12, hit you for 14, hit you for 15, and then suddenly you're scared of getting shield broken, you're scared of getting F smash, you're scared of getting, in Marth's case, you're scared of getting like Tipper jab forward tilted, things like that. It's actually really frightening, but I feel like Samus is an equally scary character. If you're like, oh, you're at 80, you know, you can get back aired, you can get neutral aired, you can get charge shot. Those aren't going to necessarily kill, but it's kind of one of those things that's like, okay, well, now they're going to get charge shot again. You know, I have to get back off this ledge, which is difficult. You know, so I feel like both characters can scare each other really well. So actually, I really, really like that matchup. It's really fun, in my opinion, when it comes to Samus. I wouldn't know it from the Marthsina side. So next, we're going to actually have Corrin. So Corrin essentially is a pretty slow character, so Samus can zone out kind of efficiently. Obviously, the threat of Corrin is the fact that he can pretty much keep Samus in disadvantage for a long time because of the giant up air, you know, the neutral airs, the pins, the forward smashes, things like that. They really scare Samus, you know, in disadvantage. And one of the biggest things is I feel like it is very difficult to get off of the ledge against Corrin, which isn't the case against the majority of characters in this game, due to the fact that they have, you know, if they shield, you know, your forward air, they can pin you, they can down tilt you. You know, they can put you back in disadvantage, so it's over and over again. I feel like Samus does win the neutral because she can zone Corrin out, and the fact that, you know, a lot of Corrin's space can be disrupted with dash attack is huge, because, like, they're not going to be able to do, like, their typical, like, short hop kind of game, because you can just dash attack in and they have to react to it. But again, similar to what I said with Mario and back air, you know, if they mistime it, then Samus is going to get a lot of damage for free. You know, Samus is actually pretty good at keeping Corrin in disadvantage, in my opinion. You know, running to where they want to land, shielding the aerial that is inevitably going to come out, and then up-being them, keeping them in disadvantage. disadvantage can happen a lot. It's actually pretty easy to edgeguard Corrin as Samus because of charge shot. So charge shot, if they have to recover in a certain area with up B, which Samus can do because she hits people pretty low or pretty far out with things like back air, neutral air, charge shot, like you hit them pretty far out. You know, you can threaten their general space if they're trying to come like high, because if they're trying to like spam back air and get back to the ledge, you can zare them back out. So a lot of the times they're going to have to recover kind of horizontally, like here's the stage, they're going to have to recover around this area, and then if you run off in charge shot, you can actually hit through the up B and kill them, which is a big deal in my opinion. Overall, I feel like Corrin outkills Samus because a lot of their kill options are safer. Obviously, Pin will probably kill around like 130 with no rage. They have a kill throw, which is a big deal because, you know, killing again around 130, 140 with no rage, as opposed to Samus, which has to do, you know, neutral airs, charge shots, which can be relatively safe, and back airs, things like that. And as well as up B at a shield, but again, Corrin is actually pretty heavy, so assuming they get the right DI, again, with no rage, you're not going to be killing with up B until like 150, 160. I feel like the damage output is a little bit in Samus's favor just because, again, more of a combo character, but Corrin is, I feel like, a scarier character in this matchup, just because, you know, air dodge reads could lead to death at 60 if they get a dragon shot read on you with the 90%, you know, the DK9 wind bite, essentially. It's really scary, it's hard to land, but at the same time, Samus gets so much off of the hit and can keep Corrin at disadvantage really well, so I feel like they both kind of do the same thing. Samus is a little better in neutral, but Corrin will kill overall a bit easier in my opinion, which is why it's 5-5. I can honestly see it. You know, I talked to Icy Mist about this matchup sometimes, especially when I was having my Corrin issues, and Icy Mist thinks that the matchup is 55-45, so I could definitely see it her way. But in my opinion, right now, I don't have enough experience, so I'm going to put it as 50-50. I definitely could go either way, though. I'm not saying it's, you know, definitively 5-5 or something like that. Next up is going to be Ryu, and you guys probably saw me recently do this matchup when I played against Locust at DreamHack Austin. So this matchup, in my opinion, is 55-45. And the reason this is because Ryu is the only character that will definitively and always outkill Samus. If you get down tilted, if you get shoryu'd at about 80%, I feel like Samus will die with, you know, a little bit of rage. I feel like probably 95 is like super dead without rage. It's really problematic. Ryu also, I feel like, has equal or better damage output than Samus. You know, his neutral is inferior and can get edge guarded really bad, which is not the case, you know, the other way. So Samus won't really be edge guarded, and Samus wins the neutral situation. You know, and actually Samus is really good at keeping Ryu in disadvantage because multi-hit up air, multi-hit forward air, multi-hit up B. There are ways to get kills in this matchup for Samus. You know, a lot of them are going to be honestly hitting Ryu off stage and then like having to like pressuring, so they have to go low and have to Tatsu, and then hitting the Tatsu with like a neutral air or a charge shot. That is going to be a really big deal in this matchup, and honestly going to be the main way that Samus gets kills. Obviously, she does still have, like, you know, charge shot punishes, up B at a shield, back air pressure in general, because Ryu does have to struggle to get in sometimes because, you know, welcome to Ryu in every matchup. So I feel like the neutral is in Samus's favor. The punish game, you know, the damage output is in Ryu's favor. The overall punish game, in my opinion, is Samus's favor. Edge guarding is clearly in Samus's favor, but again, the threat of, like, if you mess up, you might die at 80 is really scary. I could see this matchup honestly being 55-45 Samus, but, you know, me and Locust were really close. I think we're about even skill, you know, and the set went 2-2 when it was Samus versus Ryu, and the set went 3-1 in my favor when I was Samus, but either way, a lot, like, two of those matches were really close. I feel like it could definitely go either way. You know, I could see Samus's tools being more problematic for Ryu as I get better at that matchup, but at the same time, Samus does struggle to land sometimes in this matchup, so Ryu can, you know, do the things of, like, run up, shield the landing neutral air into, like, down tilt Shoryu, up tilt Shoryu, things like that. You know, Locust actually messed up a few things in our set that could have led his victory to be assured, but, you know, I'll take those, obviously. But the matchup, I feel like both characters have a lot of tools that work against each other. You know, obviously, if Samus can just keep Ryu out the whole time, Samus will win relatively harmlessly, but that's not the case with Ryu because of focus, because, you know, the player will guess right a lot of the times, and just the fact that his damage output is so high, it makes it so risky for Samus to mess up that I feel like I have to put this matchup at even for now. Next is going to be a matchup I have a decent amount of experience in theory, but actually not in this matchup in particular, which is going to be Robin. So obviously I have Dath in South Florida. We go back and forth when we play Samus versus Robin. So in my opinion, it's going to be 5-5. Robin kills significantly easier than Samus does because of checkmate. You know, the zoning is in Samus's favor because she can charge shot through pretty much all of Robin's projectiles. So if, like, you know, they're charging thunder and you have beam, it's like, okay, walk forward. If you arc fire, I'm gonna beam. If you use your thunder spell, I'm gonna beam. You know, it's really problematic. So Samus actually surprisingly controls the tempo of this matchup. She can't avoid thunders as well when she's trying to land or things like that, which is where I feel like Robin will get a lot of damage, is when Samus is in the air. It's really hard for Samus to get back on the ground, so again, she's going to have to mostly go back to the ledge, but because of how big Robin's forward air is, how scary the arc fires are on ledge for Samus to deal with, as well as the thunder spells, it's really, really difficult for Samus to get out of advantage. Similarly, I feel like it's really hard for Robin to land, and Samus can get edge guards because, again, no hitbox on the up B, so if you just kind of go farther, like if they're drifting, you can obviously, again, pressure, as I mentioned, pressure with Zairs, and, because if they air dodge the Zair, you can just, like, jump neutral air, and then they're going to hit them out, you're going to kill them at, like, 70 or something like that. So they have to go relatively low and up B, preferably for them close to the stage, so you can get, like, neutral airs to hit him back out, back to hit him back out, charge shot, to force even a low recovery and get a spike. Samus can punish Robin's disadvantage really well. Robin can punish Samus's disadvantage really well. I feel like Samus wins the overall neutral, but, at high percents, Robin is definitely in advantage because the aerials are a little bit faster and safer to throw out that can kill, like, 11 forward air, 11 back air, things like that, and checkmate obviously is a huge threat for Samus in this matchup, whereas, your safest kill option is going to be, what, charge shot and up B out of shield, but, like, Robin spaces so well that for the most part, you're not going to be landing those up Bs out of shield unless they're already in disadvantage. I feel like it's 55 or 5-5 matchup, not definitely in one person's favor or not. It's one of the matchups I actually have to play a bit more campy because obviously I play a mostly aggressive Samus when I can, camp only when I really have to, and I haven't, like, I wasn't really in that mind space, but the last time we played, I was winning by a lot and I kept approaching and I died for it. So essentially, I know I can play a little bit more passive. It might be 55-45 in Samus's favor if I do that and it proves to be, like, super difficult for Robin to deal with, but at the same time, definitely, it's definitely a fun matchup, definitely a matchup that is not easy for either character. Next is a character that I feel like is one of the most volatile matchups in, I feel like, the entire game, which is going to be Falcon versus Samus. So in this matchup, the neutral is really weird because both characters want to just, like, dash in and do stuff. Samus's camping isn't exactly efficient versus Falcon due to his just sheer speed. He gets in so easily. If you short hop and he's just running at you, he gets 3/4 of the stage, shields, and then you play the hand-to-hand combat. But the thing is, Samus actually does really well in the hand-to-hand combat versus Falcon. Dash attack is so destructive in this matchup, it can lead to so much damage. I actually played a lot of friendlies with Fatality, and we were going back and forth. I think maybe a slightly my favor, if anything. It was just really fun. Both characters just body each other's disadvantage states. The main way Falcon's going to be able to land is, like, landing up airs or things like that, but Samus obviously can be, in the air before that and hit him for it. Also, a different way he can land is just kind of by drifting away and, fast fall air dodging, but if Samus goes, like, up air, fast fall, sees that you air dodged and then just dash attack him, that can be really problematic because, again, big damage. Samus edge guards the crap out of Falcon with things like neutral air, with down air, with getting hit by up B on purpose to tech on stage, tech jump down air is kind of free. It's really hard for Falcon to get back on stage. And similarly, it's really hard for Samus to land because Falcon up air is busted. So you're going to mostly have to go, as I mentioned several times, go to the ledge in order to get back on stage, or in order to, like, not just get pressured by up airs for literally forever. So I feel like both characters just body each other, and it's one of the most fun matchups that I've ever played with Samus. And definitely 5-5, I'm pretty sure Fatality would agree. We just body each other forever. If they read the landing attempt with a pivot forward smash, you die really early. Samus gets Falcon off stage and you can die really early. It's just really fun. I love this matchup. So next I'm going to put Olimar as 5-5. Honestly, this one might be disadvantaged. I probably should have put him in the tier down below, but honestly, Samus has a lot of tools to deal with Olimar in the fact that you have up B out of shield whenever he's trying to pressure you with aerials. She has, huge amounts of kill potential, which are really difficult for Olimar to deal with, and she can kind of, not weather the storm of throwing Pikmin, because it's like, okay, you're throwing Pikmin, I'm gonna, like, short hop and neutral air then because it doesn't stale your moves. You can charge shot, which is really scary for Olimar when he's recovering, because most of the time, when an Olimar is recovering, they like to throw their Pikmin in up B so they have more movement, but, if they do that, they're leaving themselves open for charge shot or just general edge guards. I feel like Samus edge guards Olimar really well. The neutral isn't as scary as you'd think because a lot of the times Olimars are going to want to be jumping to throw their Pikmin, and if they do that, you can just dash attack in and get big damage. A big factor for this, I feel like, is the fact that it doesn't matter how much Olimar is winning by because Shine Spark is so easy on him. He is small, he is floaty, he is really light. So Samus can get Shine Spark so easily on Olimar, so it doesn't matter how big of a lead this character has because Samus can just, like, Zair combo into dash attack up, be dead, if she's at high rage. rage, it's really, really problematic for him. You know, Olimar has a decent amount of trouble landing versus Samus because he can't really armor through a lot of the moves you're going to be using to juggle because, again, multi-hit up air, multi-hit forward air. You know, if they get the neutral air, that's good on them, but I feel like forward air is going to be better in this matchup. You know, because they fixed a lot of Samus's hitboxes, it's a lot harder to get out of forward air than it used to be. You know, I thought the matchup before was terrible, but now, you know, the more I've played it, it's really hard for Olimar. And honestly, you know, I feel like the fact that Samus, again, hits just far out and not necessarily like up and away, you know, if you get like a landing neutral air, that's actually really safe on Olimar if you space it correctly, because his forward smash is like is slow enough, you know, when you're far enough away. You know, the neutral air is just so devastating. If you hit with it, Olimar like has to recover pretty much low, in which case you can get another neutral air, back air, charge shot, whatever you want pretty much, even bombs to like make disrupt a lower recovery. It's really, really difficult for Olimar to get back into neutral. Neutral, I feel like Olimar wins slightly, but it's not as bad as you would think, and the punish game for both characters is pretty strong, but again, the killing is going to be so much in Samus's favor, in my opinion, that, you know, it overcomes the slight deficit in neutral. Also, you can, if you have a Pikmin on you, you can just kind of dash attack the other direction and kill them. And also, something very important to note is if they throw a purple, you can just down tilt and then down angled forward tilt, and I'm pretty sure that should kill the purple Pikmin, which is obviously a really big threat for Samus in general. So just kill your purples, everyone. That's a general matchup thing. Just kill the purples. Don't be scared to just take a little bit of time if they're far enough away to just kill that purple, because purple is a big deal. But yeah, I think this matchup's 5-5. I could see it being 45-55, you know, for Samus, but either way, definitely a doable matchup for Samus, no questions about it, because honestly, his height doesn't really make that much of a difference in this matchup. I don't know why, but that's just the case when I've played it. And so next, it's going to be Lucario. So the reason I put this, obviously, you know, Lucario is the longer he lives, the scarier he is, but I feel like Samus's overall kill potential and, you know, the fact that she can edgeguard Lucario somewhat efficiently is going to be huge in this matchup. You don't care if he's charging Aura Sphere, because you can charge Shot, which is going to be the same thing, especially low percents. Samus's damage output, assuming not high rage, you know, not high rage / Aura Lucario, is going to be in Samus's favor. You know, it's actually really difficult for Lucario to land against Samus, because a lot of the times you're gonna put yourself above or below Lucario. You know, you can punish their B reverses with Zairs if they go the farther away angle, or like just continue to follow them in forward air, because Samus and Lucario actually fall at around the same speed, so you don't have to worry about them going really under you. You know, Lucario is somewhat heavy, but again, with charge shot, with back air, with neutral air, with forward smash, they're not, with even up tilt the 2-frame, they're not going to be living very long. And the fact that you can just threaten so much space when off stage, again, they have to recover low, and then you can, like, unless, you know, you can misread their recovery, obviously, but if you don't, they're going to die incredibly early, like 60 to 80%, and then in which case, Lucario's not going to get that much aura. And if Samus gets the lead first, you know, kills the first stock first, that is a huge thing for Lucario to overcome, because I feel like he's a bit too slow in order to chase Samus around, and if Samus just plays super lame, you know, and just like, okay, well, you're over there, and I'm just going to be zairing and attacking on small amounts of percent, and then, you know, only committing to like things like, let's say like a Cloud, right? So like they're next to you on the ledge and they do something, it's like, okay, well, back throw attempt to edgeguard, don't get it, it's fine, just go back to neutral. You don't really want to hit Lucario for big damage, especially if you're up a stock, because then aura gets really scary, which that's the reason, in my opinion, why it's 5-5, is because it can always happen. It's like, oh man, I didn't get my back air, they're at 110, they hit an aura sphere when I was trying to short hop, and now I died at 100, and then they're gonna back air me at 70, and I'm going to explode into 19 pieces of candy, and it's candy corn, so it's not even good candy, like it sucks, right? So I feel like both characters definitely do have a lot of tools against each other, but, you know, the fact that Samus can kill so early is really problematic for Lucario, but then the fact that obviously, if, like, it's this matchup is very much, it's one of the only ones, in my opinion, that first stock will completely dictate who wins the game. While Samus does have zoning tools, Zair is pretty much, you know, rendered useless, because he can just throw Aura Sphere and get a trade, and that's going to almost always be in Lucario's favor. So it's mostly going to be Charge Shot versus Charge Shot, pretty much. Charge Shot versus Aura Sphere, I guess. You know, Samus gets a lot of big damage that Lucario isn't able to do unless he has Aura. You know, but obviously if he gets the Aura and it's really scary, you know, then suddenly he becomes a whole, obviously, another beast, and it can be really problematic for Samus to get a safe kill when he has a bunch of Aura, because you can get B-reverse, you know, Aura Sphered into death, or just like, you know, oh, you're gonna try to like back air me, I'm gonna back air you, and we're gonna trade, and we're both gonna die. Like, it's really scary to fight Aura Lucario as Samus, but for the most part, besides that, it's a relatively even matchup, and the potential for Samus to get a really early kill, in my opinion, puts it at 5-5. Maybe even 55-45 Samus, I don't know, I don't have enough experience in that matchup to say. Next matchup is actually going to be a random matchup, I feel like, which is going to be Shulk. So I played with Nico like 3 different money matches in this matchup, and it's so much fun. I feel like Samus's zoning is somewhat efficient versus Shulk, unless he has speed art. on, which can be problematic, obviously, but if he has speed art on, then you're not going to be as scared of his jumping ability, which is the main thing that Samus is scared of, is mostly the fact that it's like, oh, you know, jump, you know, disrupt your area, forward air, things like that. You know, Shulk's range can make it relatively difficult for Samus to punish things, so, you know, if you like jump and then like space a forward air backwards, you know, you're not going to be really able to up B at a shield, but at the same time, you can just kind of contest the space that Shulk has, so it really becomes, you know, does Shulk attack earlier or does Samus attack at like the same time? In which case, if Samus attacks at the same time, Samus will win, and if Shulk attacks earlier, Shulk will win. Both characters can actually edgeguard each other rather efficiently. We were just doing that back and forth. It was really fun, the matchup. Nico is also, shoutouts to Nico, he's amazing. He's so smart and good. God, he's so good with this character. But, you know, I feel like Samus has a lot of tools against every single art. Obviously, shield art can be obnoxious, but if they're using shield art, then you're just gonna essentially wall them with Zaren charge shot until it's gone, and then it's like, okay, well, I got 20% more, and let me just continue to, you know, play my normal game now that they don't have shield. Both characters can kill relatively early. You know, it's actually pretty hard for Samus to land against Shulk because, again, giant hitboxes with forward air and neutral air. So Samus' disadvantage actually gets punished. You know, I feel like the neutral is slightly in Samus' favor, but killing can be problematic, and sometimes Shulk can get around and make it really awkward for Samus to hit him, only mostly in jump, but again, they're going to be mostly, like, depending on percent, going between, you know, whichever two arts are preferred. So, like, speed and jump at low percents, or maybe even Buster for some damage. You know, obviously, it's really another thing that I feel like is like what makes it even instead of slightly Samus' favor is the fact that it is nearly impossible, I feel like, to get off the ledge versus Shulk when you're at death percent and they're in smash art, out of fear of up tilt, out of fear of forward tilt, out of fear of down throw. So like if they're just like slightly, you know, back, so they won't get hit by the forward air immediately, they can react to your forward air with forward tilt. If you roll, they turn around and up tilt. If you neutral get up, they dash grab and just kill you when you're like 110 for all these things. It's really problematic, and that is, in my opinion, what makes it 5-5 as opposed to 55-45, because the neutral, I feel like, is slightly Samus' favor. They both punish each other. You know, Samus obviously has longer combos, but Shulk can keep Samus in disadvantage, I feel like, better than vice versa. And, you know, the killing is pretty even. You know, Samus will have a little bit easier of a time when not in Smash Art, but Smash Art honestly makes it so difficult for Samus to, like, get off of the ledge or even play neutral sometimes, because you have to be scared of dash attack as well. And even forward air and back air, because back air is amazing. God, that move is so good in this matchup. So I feel like it's really difficult for Samus to get hit sometimes, which will lead it to being a 5-5 matchup. And last, and kind of least, because this character is the worst of all these characters that I've mentioned, is going to be Wario. So, Fart is scary, obviously, and Samus, for the most part, wants to be able to camp. But Samus can't really camp in this matchup because you don't want to let Wario get waffed, which is obviously a huge, huge threat in every matchup that Wario has, but specifically against Samus because sometimes, you know, if he's playing more evasive enough, it's really hard for Samus to get kills. You can't just get charge shot, which is unfortunate because if they react to charge shot when they're in the air, if they're landing with bike, it'll just break the bike, and for the most part, it won't hit Wario. He'll just kind of like fall off the bike or even get like the little explosion hitbox, but it's not as strong as charge shot. The reason I put it as 5-5 is because if Samus gets in, it's actually really difficult for Wario to land. So you get like, you know, your 30%, you know, Samus can even edge guard Wario because they can't really bike safely if you have charge shot, because you can just kind of shoot where they are, and you know it's big enough that it'll catch the beginning of their jump as well, which is pretty problematic for Wario. But at the same time, Samus wants to jump. Wario still has an invulnerable up smash because he is a Mario character, which is kind of scary. So you're not gonna be able to just do things like just free back airs. His kill potential is really good, and while his neutral isn't the greatest in this matchup, it's just like, okay, well, I'm not hitting you and you're hitting me for low amounts of percent, but I'm getting waffed. And waft, as we know, is obviously a very scary thing. It makes Samus, you know, die super early, like 30-40%, especially if they have rage. It can be it's a tide turner, obviously, for a match, and the fact that Wario has combos into waft makes it really scary for Samus to sometimes, you know, play the game. It's like, I know he has waft, but he has super armor, so he can even react to like a neutral air or a back air with just like, you hit me, kill you, and it's pretty problematic in my opinion. I have a little bit of matchup experience with Snorley, you know, when he won the one game that we played in tournament in the matchup. I think I've won a few friendlies, but definitely just Wario, the fact that he controls the pace, because it's like you're on a timer literally in order to try to not get waft, makes Samus go over aggressive in my opinion, which Wario can punish for like small bits of damage here and there. It's not that easy to land as Samus, but it's not like you're gonna be punished super hard. Like, he's not great in the advantage state in my opinion, but again, you get hit and you're like, damn it, I have to float down for 3 seconds. Now he's gonna be 3 seconds closer to waft. You know, the fact that Samus likes to shield a lot when people are jumping around is really good for Wario because he has bite, which is obviously a command grab, so it's a little bit more difficult. Other than that, you know, Samus can up B at a shield shield pretty much everything else that he does, but again, he's going to be like floating around just kind of camping, and Samus actually has to be the aggressor for once in a matchup, which I feel like is really scary because it's not even like they're fighting. It's like Wario's running away, Samus has to get there, which can be problematic. And again, Waft being the great equalizer, you know, it makes this matchup 5-5. And yeah, that is going to be about it for this one. I hope you all enjoyed. As always, social media, Panda, and partner stuff is down below, and I will see you all next time. Bye-bye.